When you face a big challenge in your mind, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I need to do this when you're faced with a big challenge. I'm really excited about this panel, and all of you should be too. But before we do that, does anybody remember me from yesterday? I was the one who did this. Who remembers? Okay, and I was that guy, that awful guy that made you stand up and then stretch. Do you remember that? I even did this at the end. Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you do that. Stand up, please. No, actually, it's different than yesterday. I said I wouldn't make you stand up and stretch. Stand up, please. Thanks for the lights, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. There's a few in the back. I mean it. I saw somebody earlier, they didn't stand up. You got to. Here we go. What if I offered you all free energy? Would you say yes or no? What if I offered you all free energy? Would you say yes or yes? Okay, here we go. We're gonna practice first. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and then we clap, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I love this. I didn't think anybody would clap. One more time, 1, 2, 3. Now in unison, 10 in a row. 1, 2, 3. Do you have more energy? Do you have more energy? Guess what? Guess what else happened? My first in my life standing ovation. Yes! Let's go! All right, you can be seated. All right. Are any of your hands buzzing? Because some of you clap so loud and hard. Okay, resilience. How about this title? Change as a catalyst, turning challenges, as Ricardo put so well. This has been a difficult year, turning challenges into profitable opportunities. And we could not have a better lineup for this because they're all doing it right now, and they've done it since they've started their real estate careers. So please walk out, as you're mentioned, and just keep the applause going as they come out. Let's give them the energy. Now that your brains have fresh blood in it, you're ready to listen, you're ready to take notes. Let's give it up as they come out. Rachel Choo, who leads all sales for Kyle Whissel. Let's see if I can go with this side. Miranda Drexler, who's the COO of Affinity Real Estate. I believe it's on this side. Eric Bramlett, Bramlett Real Estate founder, owner, everything, but bike rider. Oh, they know you.
Awesome.
How about this? Number 1 team in Missouri, Matt Smith of Matt Smith Realty Group. All right, that's all for me. I did my job, they're here. And now it's time to talk about challenges. So, the more you talk, the better, okay? Because I cannot wait for this. I'm gonna start off the question with, all of you have faced what's happened since real estate was pretty easy about 2 years ago, right? And you're all smiling because, yeah, it has been different for us in Canada versus us in Austin versus us in Missouri, and we all know you're SoCal. So the first question is this. When you face a big challenge in your mind, what's the first thing that kind of, your mindset, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I need to do this when you're faced with a big challenge.
Yeah, so I think you said it's mindset, right? It's when you have a challenge, I think the way you look at it, your perspective is important. And so are you looking at it as a challenge as I can't do this, or this is an opportunity for me to overcome and be better? And so I think that it starts with adjusting your mindset, is see every challenge as an opportunity. This market is an amazing opportunity for those that choose to take advantage of it. But it's up to us to choose. Some people are choosing to get out of the business. 60,000 agents already have, and more to come. What I choose is to have the mindset of this is the biggest opportunity I will see in my lifetime, in my career, and I'm going to take advantage of it. As an example, the last recession, 17% increase in the number of millionaires in the United States because they chose not to see it as a challenge, but as an opportunity. And so I just ask all of you, what will you choose? Because you have the choice.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the mindset that you're approaching this with, like obstacles are the opportunity. If you look at all of the different things that have changed in our industry and beside our industry, for us in Canada, looking at how the lawyers are working through processing paperwork. Used to have to go in and actually sign the paperwork. Now they're on, DigiSign. So that's a fantastic change. So it was a challenge, and now that brought in new innovations. So there's always an opportunity. It's just a matter of like turning over all those rocks to find them.
So I'm kind of an impulsive guy naturally. So the first thing I always do is slow down and stop and think, and then I strategize, and then I execute. So I'm impulsive, but I'm also a little OCD, and once I know exactly the direction I'm going to go, that's all I look at, singular tunnel vision.
Rachel, you run all of sales for a massive team in Kyle Whissel. He's here. It's been mentioned probably 20 times already on stage, the interest rates. They are well over 4% higher than their lows. It's nuts, right? But you still have to have your team make it happen for buyers. So as the sales leader of an awesome company, how are you doing that day in and day out? Because it's got to come up.
It does. And I think one of the biggest things is it's not sexy, but role play. How often are you guys role playing that exact objection? Daily? Weekly? Never? So we do role play every day in the morning, right? It's our way we get our agents going, we get up and running, and so at least once a week we're practicing that objection. I'm sick of hearing it, I'm sure the agents are sick of practicing, but when you're getting hit with something over and over again, it's the same thing as going to the gym. If you don't keep doing the same exercises, you're not gonna get stronger. It's a tough objection to overcome, so if you're not continually practicing it, and you don't have dedicated time for role play, that's a massive game changer.
You said a ton right there in 30 seconds.
I did.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to add to that. I think it's so important. Role play is crucial. If you're not practicing on your own time, you're practicing on your clients, and they deserve better, right? And so I think that we all need to practice, and real practice doesn't really happen in the classroom, it happens on the field, right? And so not only do you need to have the role play and the practice, but you also need to put that practice to action, which is where you really, really learn. And I think a lot of salespeople do role play wrong, in my opinion. And so what we do is sales is not about what you say, it's about what you ask. You've heard other people on this stage say that before. Most people think I need to say the exact right thing to the 7% interest rates. I don't care what you say if they're not listening. So you have to ask great questions and ask them questions in the role play and allow them to determine where the conversation goes by asking great leading questions. We've all heard in scripting, answer, ask, acknowledge, ask. So sales is not about what you say, it's about the questions you ask so that they lower their sales skepticism. Most objections are not objections, it's sales skepticism. And so the only way to get through that is to ask great questions to get them to engage in the conversation.
Yeah, and you hit it there too with the activity. Are you in the reactive state of whatever's happening in the market is going to dictate what you're going to do, or are you in the action economy? Your income is going to be directly related to the action that you take. Right? And then looking at the interest rates, that's going to be a factor no matter what. That's always been the case. People need the financing to get the homes in most cases, right? But why do people actually move? Do they move because it's a great time to get a better interest rate? No, usually it's because of an underlying reason. So looking at the 5 or 6, depending how you look at it, D's of real estate. Divorce, diapers, diplomas, dreams, there's underlying reasons.
Don't forget the job.
Yes, that one too. So looking at and making sure that your team understands, like, hey, we just need to uncover what's the reason that people would need or want to move, and then empower them to move that forward, and understand we're here to educate people and guide them on a journey, not necessarily sell them, right?
Love that.
100%. I think that you said that educate, right? I think we kind of lost our path as an industry and as a profession. Is our job is to educate and inform, first and foremost. Our job is not to sell people. Like I say this to my team all the time. I say this to my coaching clients. People don't need to be sold. I used to say instead of selling people, help people. But in this marketplace, they don't need your help. They need you to be the leader and lead them through this market. They need you to help them educate and inform so they can make the best decision for themselves and their family. If we allow mainstream media to guide the conversations, they are never going to win. We have to own the conversation. We have to be the resource and educate and inform the consumer. And you do that one person at a time by doing the role play, being the lighthouse, being the calm in the storm, and showing them the realities of the real estate market, the data, not the drama, not what mainstream media is saying, the actual data of what's happening in your marketplace.
Did anybody just get energy from that? And by the way, for those of you lacking energy even after the clapping we did, Don't worry, John Cheplak's coming later. By the way, Eric, you're the only one who didn't interject on that, but I'm going to make it a little bit different for you. We talked about buyers and those rates and the role playing and all the things, right? What about if we add the seller side of what's going on right now? How do you speak to your team on that right now?
Yeah, I mean, we approach things consultatively, so we actually don't do any role playing. We try to talk about helping them through the transaction. So a seller is going to be able to sell any house at a certain price, right? It's just a function of where they price it, what they're willing to take, will it sell or not. So sometimes that means hard conversations with your sellers, and you have to be okay with that. Most of the time meeting in person to have these tough talks works. Zoom's great for that as well. But the agents have to understand fundamentally how to sell the house, what they can say, how they can coach them. Right now is a difficult time of the year because we're going into the slow season on top of a down market. So you ask them, you say, at what price are you willing to sell it for this year? And if we go to that price and you won't go any lower, then we'll pull it off the market, put it back on in the spring.
Rachel, you started it off with role playing, so let's just talk about your frequency. You have multiple offices. How does, for someone with one office or 10 offices or 3 people on their team or 100, how does that look? How does that look?
Great question. So we know there's kind of 2 factors to role play, right? We want to practice phone role play. How do those phone conversations go when we're reaching out to leads? And then what's our presentation role play? How are we presenting our buyer's presentation? How are we presenting the listing at a listing appointment? What does that look like? And so we've kind of streamlined a mix of like a hybrid opportunity as well as an in-person opportunity. And what that looks like is we wake up every day, 8:15 to 8:30. We have a huddle. So myself or somebody else on the leadership team will kind of have 15 minutes of maybe like a market update or just some motivational content to kind of get everybody going. And then we'll role play from 8:30 to 9 every day without fail, phone role play. So we'll give objections. We'll kind of run through all of them. The interest rates being one of the common ones we're continually doing right now. And so that's one of the requirements to stay on our team is you have to be a part of that morning role play to get that feedback. And then we also want to make sure that we're practicing presentation style as well. So each Wednesday, you can come to whatever office is closest to you, and we'll practice either the buyer presentation or the listing presentation, and we'll swap weeks. So we're doing a combination of, hey, let's practice what we say on the phone, as well as how are we presenting? What's our body language like? How are we walking people through the material? And so it's not sexy. Doing that stuff is never fun, but it's, once again, it's that repetition, that practice that gets you really confident. So you're making mistakes with your peers rather than in front of the client.
You know what I got from that? You got to do the work.
Right.
Gotta do the work.
You got to do the work.
Well, Miranda said it's an action economy, right? And so I think we all realize when times change, which times have changed, we have a choice, and we have a choice of we either change our activities to get the result that we desired in the beginning, or the outcome we desired changes. Like, so you either do more work to get the same result, or you change the result. And by the way, not choosing is a choice. And so we all have that choice. Are we willing to build those skills, take that action in order to keep our goals the same? And I think in addition to that, I just really quick wanted to hit on the power of asking great questions. And so all the people that are maybe on the fence for interest rates or any of that, like a great question to ask them is, so what is your plan? And then you can go deeper because they'll be like, well, I don't have one. That is your job as a real estate agent, your opportunity to jump in and help them develop that plan. There are so many buyers, so many sellers right now that are just up in the air and don't know what they don't know. And I believe part of leading them through the process is building a plan. As an example, we have templates that we've built out with a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, 12-month, 24-month pro forma of what this looks like at these different intervals based on projections, et cetera, so that they can make, again, an educated and informed decision. Because a lot of them, if you ask them if they have a plan, they'll be like, well, I don't know. I just want interest rates to drop. Oh, what are you waiting for them to drop to? Well, I don't know. And what do you think home prices are going to do when they do drop? Well, I don't know. Right? They don't know these things. And so if you do it in a question-based way, you can help them build that plan so they can make that proper decision in the proper time for them.
Before you go, Miranda, should they all write down, they don't know what you know? Guilty as charged.
Yep.
People don't know what you know. What were you going to say?
Yeah.
I was just going to
Go for
say,
it.
yeah, jumping on what you were chatting about, like with the role play, just looking at if we know that activity and action is the way to get the results, how can we remove any barriers to getting there faster? So for a lot of people, getting on the phone, like who's experienced call reluctancy at least once in their life? Or every day that they go to prospect. So we know that that's true. So if you can do the role play with people that you know, like, and trust and build that confidence, get like that feeling of being on the phone, reduce that call reluctancy to actually go pick up the phone now.
Okay, it's time for something. Right now, everybody in the audience is like, Andrew, you're messing up. There's a word profitability in the title, and the word profitability or profit haven't been mentioned yet. I think this will help all of you. Raise your hand if your company is growing right now. Raise your hand if your company is growing right now. Raise your hand, drop them. Raise your hand if your profitability is increasing right now. Oh, okay. So who wants to take that one? In this challenging time, how it matters that you make money at the end of the day.
Yes.
That at the end of the day there's money left. Who wants to start?
I'll talk about that. So yeah, there's massive opportunity right now because good agents don't move around whenever times are good. Good agents stay put. They're too busy selling. So good agents are moving around right now, and we're going to gobble up as much as that we possibly can. If you're a single agent, there are lots of lazy agents out there that are quitting, quiet quitting, so you have the opportunity to gobble up market share as well. I'm not focused on profitability right now. We're in a good spot where we have plenty of reserves, but if we hover around break even this year, I'm completely fine with it because we've increased our market share considerably. And I know that when the market comes back, the profit will come with it. We will make up much more than we lost in this year.
I think that's a very interesting perspective. And I think that, my company I still need to remain profitable, in my opinion, in order to be a fiscally smart business owner, right? To provide opportunities to the people that trust me each and every day. But I do think we have decreased our profit margins intentionally to invest in future growth. And I think there's been other people who have talked about that. I think you just need to build that plan for yourself. I think it was Sunit that said, just start with having a plan. So what is your plan for profitability and go around it? Like your plan is to break even. That's amazing if you're willing to invest and do that. If you need to make more profit, here's a little tip. Reducing expenses does not increase profitability. So be careful what decisions you make as a business owner. Someone else, I can't remember who it was, talked about that you are a business owner, not just a real estate agent. Even if you're a single agent, you are a business owner. Treat your business like a business. Yes, maybe you need to look at reducing expenses, but are you reducing expenses and keeping your overall income stream the same or increasing it? Because that's how you increase profitability. You increase revenue, you decrease expenses. It's not just one or the other.
I love that, and I think to build on that, another big piece of that is what's your margins look like for where you're keeping your money, right? So in the piece of the pie, what kind of transactions, what are the things that you're doing when you take a look in your P&L? Where are you keeping more of that money? We can't always control the market, we can't control the conditions, but we can look and say, oh, you know what, actually our margin on this type of lead is way bigger. Yeah. How do we focus on that lead source, right? We can't fix everything at once, so the easiest method is to go, okay, well if my piece of the pie is bigger here, how do we double down on those efforts? How do we double down on marketing for those efforts? How do we double down on training to get more people to close this type of lead or to do this activity? And so I think just taking a microscope and really understanding where those margins are for your business.
I'll say too that with the market shift, the lead behavior has changed. The same lead sources that were performing 2 years ago might not perform today. So you really need to take a hard look at how those lead sources are performing and really cut down on those that are underperforming.
Yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing. Look at your business like a business. Track your lead sources, track your expenses, know what your ROI is, know the time from the lead is generated till it actually converts to a closing. Like there's so many different factors, and if you're using Follow Boss, you can track all of that stuff to see where you're actually getting a great return on your investment. Which agents are performing which lead sources, which ones do you need more training on? And I think it's, again, just be a business owner and look at it as a business owner to be financially smart of what you are doing, because I've been in many phases, like Eric said, that I intentionally lost money for growth. But that was a plan. That was intentional, and that helped us double year over year. And so whatever your plan is, just stick to your plan, but go off of data, not your gut, right? It's your gut will let you down in business. You have to go off the data to see what is actually converting into profitability.
Miranda, you are COO of Affinity Real Estate. By the way, congratulations. At your age, your accomplishments is unbelievable.
Thank you
what
very
you've
much.
done, and you're a great leader of our industry. What is Affinity's stance on profitability right now?
Yeah, well, jumping on what everyone else has mentioned already, looking at we are running a business, and our team members are running a business as well. They're choosing to partner their business with our business. So if we're looking at our business and how can we be profitable and looking at what's going to make the needle move, how can we empower them to also see it like a business? A lot of people get into real estate for different reasons, but how can we empower them to actually see it like a business? Because we know that people move the money, and if they're not successful, then we're not successful. So how can we pass what we're learning along so that they can see it the same way and actually build and grow?
I think that's so powerful is that agents are business partners, right? So if you're an agent or you're a team leader or you own a brokerage, I challenge you to just think about your agents are not just agents, they're business partners. They are partnering part of their commission to work with you. That is their choice. You are choosing to partner your commission to invest into them, right? And so I think if you just look at it, I think that's great language, is look at it as they are a business partner. It'll change the perspective not only for them, but for you.
This is for the whole group. You didn't know this is coming. Is there anything that you're doing right now that is more profitable than the rest that you're focusing on because of that reason? Does that come to mind? What is that thing that you're putting effort into because it is profitable?
Well, just looking at empowering people to use the systems that we have and seeing what has been working and inspecting what we expect. And that's been huge. Just looking at what are the standards that we have as our base that we know work and kind of going back to the basics to get those back up and running. Because as we've been mentioning earlier today, the market's been a little bit easier to just have things work before, but now it requires the skill. It requires getting back to what, the work that you actually have to do. So kind of going back to that and pushing those forward.
Yeah, I'll say I've turned into a cheerleader over the past year, and I'm naturally kind of a negative person, so it's a weird role for me to fill. But yeah, no, it's super important, and I'll tell everyone.
Yeah, just pom-poms backstage.
Yeah. But so in Austin, for example, the market has shrunk by 25%, so there's 25% less pie out there. And average days on market to sell are up to 55 from 17. So, you're working 3 times harder to make 25% less money. And that sounds very negative, but whenever you explain that to everyone and whenever you acknowledge that, you can say, yeah, you know what, this feels really hard. It feels like I'm spinning my wheels, but that's okay because the market has done this and things will get better. I mean, I lived through the '08 recession. I have PTSD over it, but that was a really, really rough one. This one is pretty easy by comparison, but you don't need to say it that way. You just need to tell people it's okay if it feels hard. Keep working. Work hard.
I think that's great. And I think, as an example, I think we have a false perception. And so let me ask the audience, do more leads equal more closings?
Not necessarily.
Yes or no?
No.
No, they don't. So more is not better. Better is better. You guys should write that one down. So agents want more leads, but in reality, do they want more leads that they're scrambling around chasing, trying to follow up with, or do they really want more closings? Right? And so what we are really focused on, instead of trying to create more, because anyone else with me over the last 3 years, if it was a shiny object, we bought it, right? Hey, yeah, let's keep growing. Let's ride this train. I think minimizing those things that you're not using effectively to maximize the things that are the foundation of your business and really diving deep into your database to maximize what's already there. A lot of people in this room have massive databases, and the average online lead doesn't convert for, depending on what study you read, around 18 months. So what leads do you have in your database from 18, from 24, from 3 years ago that did not transact, and how are you treating those leads? And instead of going and trying to create new leads, make more out of the opportunities that you already have.
And that's why I asked the question, because yesterday I was talking to a team lead with 10 agents. He said he had over 100,000 in his database, follow-up us, it happened to be follow-up us. And he said that's what the most profitable. They already have these leads. They're not leads. They're contacts now, and there's money there. Yeah. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Going back into the database and seeing how can we scrub that data and see how can we help these people that have already raised their hand.
Yes.
And it's been incredible showing everyone, hey, look how many people have just bought a home in the last month that we missed. So there's a ton of opportunity, and sometimes you have to see what you've missed to then acknowledge okay, we've got to actually get in there and work these leads, because it's that 8 month ago lead that has now converted, right? 10, 12 months. So really jumping in and focusing on those, because I think when things are good and people are getting a lot of new leads, they become complacent to just getting the new thing and having that initial, hey, it's Miranda at Affinity Real Estate. They're used to that piece rather than the nurture. And that's what we've been talking about today, is the money's in the nurture.
Yes. So as an actionable piece of advice, if you have a lot of leads in your database and you don't have a way to engage them, that's your step one.
Yes.
So engagement can be newsletters, it can be property drips. You then will see how they react to it. You'll see people raising their hands by opening the emails, by clicking through, viewing properties. Then you can reach out to them. So step one, engage your leads if you're not already doing that.
I love that. And I think we internally changed our dialogue. We no longer speak of leads. We talk about opportunities. And so they're all the same. And let's be honest, would you rather have a lead that's in your database that's been there 12 months that comes in and calculates a mortgage, or a brand new one? We would all want the one from 12 months ago. It's more nurtured. It's been, if you have a marketing system like he's talking about, you've provided value over those 12 months and they're coming back to your site raising their hand. And so I just think it's really important to dive in and build those systems to look at those opportunities and treat them as they are new opportunities, even though they've been in your database for a long time. Because I think sometimes we lack in follow-up. Like we've all heard it in training, the fortunes in the follow-up. We just got to get back to that. And how are you following up with these people, nurturing the relationships and treating those opportunities, those hand raisers, as if they are a brand new lead?
And a big piece of that too is having accountability around actually doing the follow-up. So if there's no inspection process to when was the last time this lead was called, or what is your database health, if you're not doing pipeline check-ins or you don't have some sort of expectations for agents to call through their leads at what cadence, we can't be mad at people for not doing it if we don't give them a plan for what do you say? Tell them what to say. We have to do training around it. We have to have an expectation of if they're in this stage, call them this often. And so I think without the structure or accountability around actually doing that nurture style follow-up, we tend to just get mad at agents for not doing it. But if we're not giving them a plan, we're not helping them learn what to say, along with the accountability, then they're just lost opportunities.
Please.
Sorry, yeah, and I think you might have said this at the previous mastermind we were just at, but how many of us are setting poor expectations with newer agents coming onto your team, where we're saying, hey, welcome, okay, you've trained, you know the scripts, you're ready to go, here's the leads, go call them, and their expectation, because we didn't tell them, is, oh, I'm going to call someone and they're going to convert. We don't tell them that it's going to be an 8-month timeline to, you might get the one that converts, but on average, it's going to be like a few months.
I think expectation setting is incredibly important, and my goal is to set the lowest expectations I can possibly set for anybody I talk to. Always. So much easier to over-deliver whenever you've set these really, really bad expectations. So. Do that in all ways in life, like it works out.
Under promise, over deliver. I love it. And I think that if we look back, and I think this goes to buyers and sellers, but also to agents, any time that you have a disagreement or don't see eye to eye, every single time, if you're honest with yourself, goes back to not setting proper expectations at the beginning. And so if you have an agent that you're frustrated with, if you're a team leader, you probably need to go back to the interview process and say, did I onboard them and set the proper expectations, or did I underdeliver because their expectations weren't met? If I have a seller that's upset, what?
You can fire him too. That works really well.
That's an option. Or you can go back and look in the mirror as a leader and say, I need to change my onboarding process, which is what we have done. Is when we're onboarding agents, we need to change the expectations because the market has changed. Again, so we're choosing to change the expectations of the agents. And team leaders, this is for you, and agents also, if you don't have a re-onboarding process for this marketplace, you need to put one in place. Literally, I hope my team's not watching this, here's my secret. We took onboarding and we rescaled it and named it Agent Excellence Program, and our sales meetings are onboarding 2.0 for all of our agents to re-onboard them for the new marketplace. Because they need to go back to the basics. They need every stage that you'll see, everyone says go back to the basics, but are we really doing it and practicing it? And I think we need to re-onboard our current agents and go back to the basics and the fundamentals.
With 2 minutes on the clock, I want to see how important this last question is. Who in this market is still recruiting? Raise your hand if you're recruiting, and then raise another hand if you should be recruiting. Okay, so everybody. So here's the question. You know this question's coming. Do you choose an experienced, established agent to recruit them? Or how about someone green, brand new, ready to listen?
Okay, so as we know, experienced agents have, agents in general, we have a little bit of ego, right? We think we're great, as we should. But so when you're recruiting and bringing someone new onto the team, obviously there's going to be different expectations and standards with joining that team. So there's your onboarding process. So one thing that we've always looked at is it's easier to take someone who's new, who doesn't know any different, and kind of mold them and train them the way that you'd like them to operate. Hey, these are the standards. And with each new onboard, you can raise that standard and keep building it up. Which is fantastic. And if you have experienced agents coming on, making sure that they're going through the same onboarding process. Just because they think they know what they're doing doesn't mean they should get a free pass to just jump in.
Yeah. I think it goes to what I've learned being on these stages and being in these rooms with amazing performers like all of you, is that everybody does it differently, and it works differently for everybody. So there's not one size that fits all. And so my bread and butter is brand new agents. It's because of our marketplace, because of our model, we have a great training, it works. But I will take experienced agents too, but they have to, like Miranda said, go through the exact same onboarding. And so it goes back to expectations and what is your business plan and business model, and make sure that you just don't change it overnight without a proper plan, because if you onboard them correctly, it doesn't really matter if they're experienced or not, they will be set up for success.
Just write it down. Like write down who you want to hire and go hire them. That's what you want to do.
A few seconds left. What's your stance?
Yeah, I think it's important to, that's a great question, but I think what's more important is to understand who is the avatar. What kind of people do I want to surround myself with? They may have real estate experience, they may be brand new, but what is the type of person that I want my team to be filled with? What core values do they have? How do they act? What is their drive, right? So I think, sure, you can have really great experienced agents, you can have really great people who know nothing about the industry and we can train them, but I think a better focus and what's helped us really build a team that we love, where everybody gets along, it's a culture of production, we're having all those things, is are we hiring people who want to be on a team, who love teamwork, who want to be collaborative? Whether you are an agent or not, is that a core value for you? Do you like tech? We're very techy. We have a lot going on, and so if you're afraid of that, it's not going to be a fit, right? New agent or experienced agent could have different answers for that either way. Are you somebody who wants to contribute? Do you enjoy being a part of a team and contributing and helping each other? So my answer is either, as long as they're exhibiting those core values that we adopt on our team, and if you can fit those, we can teach you anything, or if you're an experienced agent, great, we can teach you our method and you'll be successful either way.
100%, just to add to that really quickly, if you want to grow anything big, culture has to be first. You can't just bring on amazing producers that don't believe in your culture, because it will disintegrate. My personal opinion, you have to put culture first. And so what are your values? What are the expectations? So I love that, is if you just make sure that culture is first, your production will follow.
I want to thank you all for bringing the real. Can we give it up for this crew? You brought the real. All right, our time is up. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Awesome.